Hello, Charlie. You gonna be in the intro? Awesome. You can be right here
He's like, I'm just going to show up in and out whenever I want to.
whenever he wants to. All right. Well, episode 10, Mr. Charlie. Good boy. Episode 10, ready to go. Welcome back for another episode of Networking with Nick. I'm excited today to introduce a very good friend of mine, along with the owner of JJ Landscape Management. At the age of 10, Jonathan started a mowing business with the help and encouragement of his parents. After many seasons of hard work and attending the horticulture program at Kansas State University, Jonathan established JJ's Landscape Management, specializing in commercial and residential landscape. Today, JJ's Landscape Management is one of the most trusted and well-respected in the industry, serving the greater Wichita area for well over a decade. Jonathan truly values each and every client and enjoys collaborating with them on creating a beautiful and unique environment for each home. My guest today and friend, Jonathan Jessen.
How's it going?
What's up, brother?
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Been a while.
It has. I think the last time I was out here at your house, you had a nice party. You had gotten this awesome layout here in the backyard done, and I think that was about a year ago?
Yeah, just about. Because it was in March. It was like mid into March is when I think the last time you're out here was.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, I know that your roots are in Andover, right?
Mhm.
That's born and raised. Have you ever thought about moving? Kind of like I have. I came from Washington and then moved states. Have you ever thought about that?
You know, there's a few cities that I wouldn't mind moving to, but a lot of it's just so freaking expensive.
Ooh, yes.
And so I'm like, you know, what I have, I can't afford to recreate what I have in another state.
Oh.
That would be nice enough to move to, and so I just stay here, and then I travel to the places that I want to go.
And that's kind of like my philosophy going forward. As I grow throughout my industry, I want to create roots somewhere. And I think Wichita's a really good place because, like you were saying, it's not an expensive city area.
Yeah, relatively, it's pretty cheap.
Absolutely.
You know,
and
I mean, it's still expensive. It's still expensive like everywhere else, but your rent is going to be or your mortgage is going to be a lot more affordable than, say, in the mountains or on the beach or whatever.
I tell friends back home all the time. Like I have a 3-bedroom, full basement, 2-car garage that's attached, small front yard. I pay $850 for something like that back home in Seattle. Like you're looking, it's going to be $1 million home if you wanted to buy it, maybe 1.2, just crappy home, and then like your rent's going to be $2,200 a month for something like that.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. And what I do like about here, Wichita, is it is the air capital of the world, and I want to get my pilot's license. It's something I've been wanting to work on. And in the future, say if I'm on the West Coast and I want to go to New York, that's a long flight all the way across country. Yeah. Here in Wichita, you're just in the smack dab middle. You cut that in half.
Exactly. Yeah, it's easy to get just about anywhere. So
good Lord. So with your roots here in Andover, starting your mowing business at 10 years old, why? How? What was in your mind at 10 years old to go, I'm going to go mow some lawn?
So the summer after my 8th grade year, I had a school field trip to Washington, D.C. It was going to be $1,600. And the deal with my parents was I paid half. They were going to pay half. So I had to come up with a way to get $800. And so I started, and so, I had to get $800 plus also money that I was going to spend while I was there that, with stuff that wasn't included. Because it was one of those things like, we had a lot of food and stuff. Our hotels and travel and some food was included with that. But, we're also on the hook for some other, gift shop stuff.
Yeah, little knickknacks here and there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or like lunch.
Right.
Kind of a deal. And so I started mowing. Yeah, I started mowing my neighbor's house that was 2 doors down in the cul-de-sac, and it was just kind of one of those things that just kept growing. I mean, started out mowing there in the cul-de-sac, and then I'd go like the next street over, and the next street over, and then it just kind of kept going, by block by block.
So you were door knocking at 10. You were walking doors up and down your cul-de-sac, up and down the streets.
Maybe not at 10, but at least 11.
That's a big difference. Oh, good Lord. So, I mean, you're knocking doors. Where did that idea come from?
Oh, honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, it was probably, I really don't know.
Just, hey, how can I make an extra $800? I'm 11, 10. To think that way in the first place as a 10 or 11-year-old is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because, bye-bye, airplane. a lot of 10-year-olds aren't thinking like that.
No, they're not.
Man, that's very impressive. So clearly your parents had a little bit of influence into that. Was it their idea? Because they gave you that deal. Hey, we'll pay half. You have to go earn your other half.
Mm-hmm.
Did they give you any ideas to go start?
I don't remember, honestly. I imagine that they probably helped with that idea, or honestly, I honestly don't. I honestly don't know. But the reason that I started mowing, my neighbor's yard is because they worked for Cessna at the time, and they were real heavily involved with Riverfest, and so
Interesting.
and so they were essentially gone for 2 weeks out of the summer, and so they needed their yard mowed for 2 weeks, and so I mean they were still there, but they were so busy they were never home. And so I think that's probably what gave the idea to start mowing, is because that my neighbor was probably like, hey, we need our yard mowed.
Right.
But as what was like the idea, I have no idea.
No idea. It just came from somewhere.
It came from somewhere close. It's been a long time.
Good Lord.
That's only been almost 18 years ago now. So
so after coming back from the DC trip, did you just kept going?
I just kept going.
Just now you're going to school, you're in middle school. Are you doing this on the weekends? Are you doing this in the evenings?
Yes.
More or less.
Yeah. I mean all of the above.
Man, so when did it become a business for you? When did that happen?
Oh, I don't even remember, honestly. That would have been I have no idea, honestly. I've probably got a signs or something somewhere, but I honestly have no idea.
When did you start calling it JJ's Landscape Management, I guess?
I think that would have been, see, what year is it right now? It's
2024.
Yeah, 2024. That would have been, let's see, so that would have been 2024. I graduated high school in 14, so it probably would have been, I don't know, probably somewhere around 2010 to 2012.
Okay.
I would say is probably when that rebranding happened.
You graduated in 14 is what you said?
Correct, from high school.
So you started this prior to graduating high school, correct?
Yeah, I started this in middle school. I started this when I was 10. Yeah,
exactly, 10.
Yeah.
So you are a high school student. Did you have an LLC for the company then?
Not at that time.
So you're just kind of doing it independent as.
Yeah.
So you're a high school student working weekends, nights, owning your own company, branding it into its first brand of JJ's Landscape Management before you even graduate high school.
Yep.
That is crazy.
Yep. And then so the first name was JJ's Mowing, and because at the time all we were doing was mowing, and actually it wasn't even my idea to change the name. It was my apparel guy's name, because I had T-shirts that said JJ's Mowing,
right.
But it was just print. I didn't have an actual logo, and so I got a buddy here in town. He owns Creative Design Tees. They're in Bel Air, and I came to him years ago, and I was like, hey, I want to get an actual logo made. And so he's like, okay. So he comes up with the logo, and after he came up with the logo, he was like, hey, I also changed your name too, which may not be a bad idea, because you're already starting to do more stuff,
right?
And so it wouldn't be a bad idea to let's do landscape management, and so that way it doesn't just stop you at mowing. At least name wise,
it gives you the expansion.
Just for branding recognition wise. And I was like, it's a good idea. And so he's the one that changed the name of my company for me.
So you didn't even change the name. You weren't even in the market for changing the name.
Yeah, exactly.
You went to go get just some merch made.
Exactly.
And he was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna make you this logo, and then honestly you're doing more than mowing, let's change the name. And he just did it for you.
Exactly. He did it with my approval. He didn't,
obviously.
he did it with my approval, but it was his idea originally.
Wow. So it almost seems like this is kind of fallen into place, I almost want to say, without struggle, because you started so young, you were able to build a clientele. Like, how many of those people that you mowed lawns for back at 10 are still clients today?
Oh, most of them. As long
That's
as,
incredible.
I mean,
Fuck, that's incredible.
honestly, as long as they haven't died or they still live here in the same city, I still have them.
So have you actually had clients who you've had long enough for them to pass away?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had at least 6 of them pass
Holy
away.
shit.
So, but
That's
yeah,
you want to talk about lifetime value of client right there.
yeah, yeah.
What did it take for you to keep them that long?
I guess they just like me. I honestly don't
Just a
know.
likable face, I guess.
I think they just like me. You know, I mean, you know, good value for money. You know, good customer service. I mean, I've got people. I mean, I know when like their kids' birthdays are. I've got keys to their house.
That's
You know,
amazing.
it's just, it's just a lifetime relationship. I mean, I would say, I only have, a couple people anymore that like we're really like beginning OG customers, the average age of my customer as far as like in our relationship, I would say is around 10 years old.
That's amazing.
I'd say 10 to 15 years old. So I mean, I've had it with I've had a lot of people. I've got people, they wouldn't know what to do without me.
They wouldn't know what to do without me. I've been along around so long, they wouldn't know anymore. They have no idea.
Yeah. If I was to close the doors today, I like to think that there would be people that would genuinely be sad.
Right.
You know, they'd be like, "Man, who do we call?" You know, I would, if that was to happen, I wouldn't leave them high and dry. I'd be like, "Hey, you know, I got this guy or whatever.
Someone I can recommend you to."
Yeah, exactly. But you know, so I'd give them options, but you know, it'd be. I really like to think that they'd kind of be like at a loss.
Right, exactly. Going on 15, 16 years, have you ever thought about closing the doors? Have you ever thought about shutting it all down and going a different direction?
No, I like it too much. Or I guess I joke that I either enjoy it too much or I'm too stupid to do anything else. And so I've always got, don't get me wrong, I've always got different business ideas that pop up, you know, at different points in time. But no, I mean, I've been doing this so long that I enjoy doing it. It affords a good living, and I also really enjoy the relationship aspect of it as well. And so, if I was to go do something else, then it'd have to be something that had the same relationship aspect to it, or at least if not same, very similar.
Especially, I mean, starting over too, like you'd have to rebuild a lot of relationships. Whatever, say if you did decide to switch industries one day, like you could probably have a lot of that clientele coming with you, depending on what it was. But at the same time, like you would be starting from a little over zero.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Not from zero, but so. What has the evolution of JJ's landscape management? So you started from mowing. You know, you've had a few things as you've grown. Have you added services? What's that look like as you've grown as a business owner?
Yeah, you know, so like when we started, obviously, so when it started the original, it was just mowing. Now we're a landscape company that offers mowing now, and we like, so now like patios, walls, plantings, trees, you know, all that stuff. That's the majority of the business that we do now. Like all the maintenance, it's nothing that I ever advertise.
Right.
It's all kind of like, I mean, the area that we maintain, or the area that we offer maintenance in, is so small now that or at least that we do in house, our maintenance that we do in house is so small and condensed now that really the only way that I'll take on someone else is if you're like right next door or the block over. Like you
got to be really close to one of my customers for you to come mow your stuff.
Yeah, you have to be. I'm not going to be inconvenienced to be going over there.
There you go.
Honestly,
and that's perfect, because like as you've grown, that's kind of the point of growing, is like, look, these aren't necessarily our main services anymore.
Exactly.
Obviously, like if you're a next door neighbor and I can stay on my rider and go right next door and knock it out, sure, that's one thing. But
exactly,
if you're all the way out in just middle of nowhere, like I'm not going to drive X amount of time just come out there and do your lawn. Like it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yep, exactly. And I mean, a lot of it comes down to just a good business practice based on, you know, the type of service business that we are in that aspect. Is that, I mean, it costs a lot of money to be rolling it's either, there's 6 tires on the truck and 4 in the trailer, so it costs a lot of money for 2 guys to roll 10 tires down the road.
Absolutely, it does.
And I mean, so the the longer it takes to get to the next place, the less properties you get done per hour, and the less properties you get done per hour, the less your revenue per hour is, and stuff like that. So I mean, it all comes down to the revenue per hour. Now, I mean, if you got a place that, I mean, it's like, I mean, it's worth it, and I mean, we'll go a little bit.
If it makes sense.
Yeah, if it makes sense, we'll go a little bit farther.
Absolutely.
But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The listeners and viewers probably understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
yeah. So building those relationships, holding them down, learning to say no to certain services. What did it take for you to kind of learn that? Because I think there's a lot of power in saying no. Hey, I can't do that job. Hey, I can't do this for you.
Yeah.
Was there a certain turning point where you were like, man, I'm saying yes to too much shit. I need to start saying no.
I don't remember a certain turning point. I don't remember like a eureka moment or anything like that. But it really just kind of comes down to now a lot of it, we're busy enough to where it's like, if it's something that I just don't want to do, or it's not something that I don't want to put my name on, then there's a chance we're not. So perfect example. I got a call from a guy. I got a call from a guy over in Andover here. A couple weeks ago. He had a patio that was, or at least the information that I got on the phone. He had a patio that had a low spot up against the house, which, there's, with anything, there's always going to be settling. It's no big deal. I was like, yeah, I can come over and take a look at it. And so I go over, I take a look at it. And, I mean, the whole thing's just fucked up.
It's not a fun situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like, hey, we need to fix this settling. It's like, I mean, you look across this patio, and I mean, it looks like a pond on a wavy day.
Oh no!
I mean, I was like, man, the whole thing's got to be tore up, and all the pavers were just really cheap. It was a hodgepodge. It was a hodgepodge of like Menards clearance pavers.
Okay.
And maybe I sound too uppity or bougie, but I just looked at it. I was like, I'm not. It's like, I cannot put my company name on what you're wanting to do, because he was like, well, I just want this one spot fixed. I was like, well, I can't just fix this one spot because the rest of this looks bad, and I'm not, you're not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy. No one's going to be happy. And then you're going to go tell your neighbor, and it's just not going to work out.
It doesn't look good for either of us.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's like, well, can we just use the same pavers to redo it? I was like, no, I don't want to use your hodgepodge of clearance pavers. I can quote you to redo it in a nice product. And, I mean, we don't have to use top of the line products, but
something quality.
Yeah, but something quality, something that, something that's going to last, and so honestly, something that just looks nice and isn't 20 years old and wore out. And so I gave him a couple options on what I thought would be best for him, and he didn't like any of those options, and so we just naturally split ways. But I mean, that was a job that I said, no, I'm sorry,
Right.
I can't. But I also didn't leave the guy high and dry, being like, no, I can't do this. I was like, hey, this, I can't do this. I don't know any companies that would do what you're wanting to do, but here are a couple options for you.
Right.
Like concrete. We don't do anything with concrete, and so I was like, I think concrete would be a good economical option for what you're wanting to do. And so
giving them the options, even though if like, hey, look, this isn't a job that I can perform for you or make look good for you, just for the sheer fact that it isn't a good fit.
Exactly.
Here are some things that you can do, or have some options in the future to fix this, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, you leave them with the best intentions that you can, and you give them as much information as you can, and they are the ones who ultimately get to make that decision.
Exactly.
And if they want to use cheap stuff, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. You kind of look at it like dating. I mean, it's like, I mean, that's a really simple way. That's a really simple way to put it. It's like, hey,
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm not interested, or I mean, that's just kind of like, I mean, it's just kind of what it is.
This isn't gonna work out. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Throughout this entire journey, what, 15, 16 years now?
Mm-hmm.
How important has networking been for you to build what you have?
Oh, it's incredibly important. Incredibly important. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without it.
Right.
I mean, whether it's a group that I've been a part of, or honestly, I mean, I'll talk to people. I'll go. I'll go sit at a bar, have dinner, and I'll talk to people there. I'll talk to people at the gas station. Wherever. It's just all about talking to people.
Absolutely.
So, and I don't care who you are, what industry you're in. You need to get out and talk. You need to get out and talk to people.
Shake hands, meet people, man.
Exactly.
It's so important.
Exactly. And you may not, you might not need to do it every single day, but don't be closed off to it. Like I know some people that they're like, oh no, I don't like to go out and do any of that stuff, and it's like sometimes you don't. It's not that you like to. I personally very enjoy it
Right.
quite a bit, but it's like you still got to get out there every once in a while. Just build. Don't even try and sell anything.
No,
just build a relationship. It's a lot easier to sell something if you have a relationship with the person first than it is if you're like, hey, Nick, here's my card. I do landscaping, and then I walk away and leave.
right.
Or we have a very impersonable conversation for about 30 seconds because I just want to get my point across, and it's like, okay, see you later, bye.
It doesn't work that way.
So,
it just does not work that way.
Yep.
What were you nervous when you first started trying to go network in certain events and things like that?
No, not really. I mean, I was always raised. I wasn't raised to be shy.
Right.
Essentially, and I mean, I knew enough people at stuff that I'd already gone to. I mean, even now, I go to. It's kind of funny, I'll go to different networking stuff, and even if it's something I've never been to before, I know a quarter of the people that are there already.
Yeah.
And so that also helps too. But all the stuff that I first did, I would generally be at, I generally meet people through my parents. I generally meet people through my parents, and so I already had that introduction.
Right.
And so most of the stuff that I go to, I mean, I'd be meeting people that I'd never met before, but I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be just thrown at,
In the deep end.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say like 6 or 7 out of 10 times, I wasn't just thrown in the deep end and being like, hey, figure it out. I would always have at least one connection to I'd always have at least a connection to someone in the room.
Right.
And then, that would, whether it was that person that was introducing me to other people, or I could be, or you talk to people and it's like, oh yeah, I know so and so, and that's why I'm here, and it just eases everything.
Absolutely.
So
you already get a little bit of an in, and kind of what you said about how your parents have made a lot of introductions for you. Man, your father knows a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just anytime I've ever hung out with you guys or anything like that, like anywhere we've gone, he'll know like 2 or 3 people he's got to say hi to, or someone will come say hi to him. And the power of being able to network like that, it's not what you know. Sometimes it is legitimately who you know.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
And just being able to have doors open for you that way, just by building that relationship, not trying to sell like you were talking about, but building that relationship. Oh, come over here. You need to meet so-and-so, or we're going to have an event here that's kind of private. I'd love to invite you. Like it gives you the ability to have doors open for you, and you ain't got to pay $1 usually.
Exactly.
Sometimes you may have to pay a little bit to go in, but it's all right.
Exactly. I mean, the cost, even if it is a networking event that you got to pay for, I mean, it can be $10-20, which is, for most people is not out of the realm of affordability. Really, generally, if you want to drink, that's what a lot of it's
that's
cash.
Gonna usually be your...
there's generally a cash bar, and anymore. I mean, it doesn't even matter if you go to have a drink or not have a drink. I mean, if you don't want to have a drink, it's not like being downtown at night where it's like, oh man, why aren't you drinking a beer? Whatever. No one cares.
No, it's not like that at all.
Drink your water, your tea, or whatever, and even though alcohol's there, you don't have to have the alcohol.
No.
So, for some people, it does help to talk to people.
Get loosened up a little bit.
Maybe have a beer, or a drink to kind of take the edge off if you're not comfortable. If you're not 100% comfortable with it, don't drink too many.
That's why I was just about to say, don't overindulge and start to do some wild stuff.
Yeah.
So you've talked about bars that you've networked at, some events. Are there any other like active ways that you try to participate in when it comes to networking? Do you try to find certain groups to join, or is it just kind of as your day goes?
It's really just kind of as the day goes, or even as the year goes. I mean, I've been a part of different men's groups. I've been a part of different men's groups. I've been a part of different chambers of commerce. I've been a part of the Wichita Chamber. I was a part of that for a couple of years, and then and then I, and then I don't know why I got out of it. I just kind of got out of it, and then I was a part of BNI for a brief second. But I've also been to multiple chapters as a visitor.
Right, absolutely.
Currently, I'm a member of WEBA, which is a Wichita Independent Business Association, and I actually really enjoy their that community is actually one of my favorite communities that I've been a part of.
Interesting, because I've been looking at it. I haven't got to go to any of the events yet. Because like for like comparing WEBA to BNI, BNI has a huge time commitment. Every week, hour and a half for the meeting, 1-to-1 CEUs. Like there's a huge time commitment. Does WEBA have the same thing?
No, I mean WEBA is one of those things you get in what you put out, or you get out what you put into it.
Fair.
And so I mean, if you want to pay the membership and never show up, pay the membership, never show up. It's based off of
that's simple.
Yeah, you know, and I mean it's very affordable. I forget what I pay, but it's less. But for me, you know, as a small company, it's not much. And then it's all based off of, you know, one, how many employees you have, and then also what level of recognition you want. You know, like if you want your name, you know, if you want to be the platinum sponsor for whatever, you know, you're going to be paying a lot more a year than what I pay.
Fair.
And but I mean, it's nice, you know, like they always have the, you know, they have their once a month luncheons, and then they have socials and stuff like that. And so one nice thing about that group is that there's paid events and there's also free events.
Okay.
And so, you know, you're not always locked in. You're not always locked into being like, oh, I want to go to this, but you know, it's $25, you know, or you know, it's like $100 a ticket. You know,
right.
you don't have to. You don't always have to pay for stuff. Sometimes you know, I'd say, I don't know, without looking at it, I'd say it's probably 50-50. You know, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of free events, you know, like happy hours or coffee, you know, like coffee and conversations, I think is what they call their deal. And then, you know, there's like the Startup Plus community. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that either costs very little, like less than $20, or it's free.
That's good, because I mean sometimes free is needed for you know starting out as a business.
Yeah,
but also those paid events too.
Well, I mean, even if you're a business that has, you know, money in the bank, I mean I mean, you don't always want to pay to everything that you go to.
Not always,
you know. So
now, in my experience, I will say some of the best rooms though that I've been in when it comes to networking are some of the paid rooms, because generally when you go to those rooms, you have, or events, you have people who, since they put money in, that like they actually mean to be there.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of blood and, you know, on the line for
them.
And that's good, because like one of the problems I've found, at least throughout networking in some groups, is some entrepreneurs kind of get lost and they lose the hunger for growth, and they utilize certain, you know, either chapters or meetings or whatever in whatever organization, like as a social circle, which is fine, but they have slowed down and no longer have that hunger of entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I've found that to be a problem, and I try to stay away from that. And when you're looking for networking groups, that's one of the things you should ask, like, how long have you been in here?
Yep. Exactly.
How many referrals do you give to who? How many, like, sometimes those are questions that you want to ask, because, you know, if they've been there for 10, 11 years, sometimes they start to get complacent.
Yep.
And that happens.
Yep.
So you just got to go find more people. That's amazing. I love to hear that. What are your plans, Mr. Jonathan? What's in store for the future for you and the business?
Just I don't know. I mean, I don't,
big sigh right there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking. I mean, I don't really have any like big specific plans right now. You know, I mean, really just kind of growing on the trajectory that we've been growing. You know, get more cooler, better projects.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
project wise. What are you looking for? Because obviously mowing's out. We like the paving and stuff. Is there a certain projects that you're looking for right now?
You know, pretty much anything that we can get like in the $10,000 to $15,000 range is where I really like to be. So like installs, you know, lighting, do a lot with landscape lighting. You know, obviously the patios and the walls and stuff like that. So, but
if you got to choose, so I'm going to ask this question with context. I've actually done work for Jonathan a few times. If you got to choose one service that you no longer ever had to do again, what would it be?
Mowing.
Really?
Yeah, get out of mowing.
I was gonna say sod.
No, I like sod. Sod's easy.
Well, for you it is, because you usually are driving the mechanical thing.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
Sod's easy.
you know, as someone who's come to do work for you, God, I'd never want to lay another patch of sod in my life.
Man, I'm sure I'll get you to lay one or two this
Probably
summer.
not.
I bet you I will.
Nah.
I get you every year.
Nah. I don't know.
I call you. I'm
Did
like,
you give me last year?
yeah, I did. I did get you last year.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that house. They had that backyard. They had the basement dug out.
That's right. Yeah,
yeah.
That was a super easy one.
Yeah. That was
horrible.
only like 13 pallets. That was easy.
Yeah.
Anything less than 20 is easy.
No, you can keep that. That's all for you.
Yeah, you're just still upset about the airport job.
The airport was not a lot of fun.
No,
that was a miserable. I've done a lot of bad jobs in my life.
No.
I've done hazmat technician. I've climbed cell phone towers to change light bulbs and put up antennas. I've crawled in crawl spaces. That airport job, laying how many yards of sod was it?
It was 8 semis.
It was a whole lot.
Yeah.
And on slopes. I mean,
fuck
that. That
really,
was horrible.
I mean, the only part about it that made it awful was that one day where the wind was blowing and all that dust was there. It was like in a sandblaster all day long. Other than that, the majority of the sod was laid with the skid steer.
That's true.
You just had
to pull it back up.
Yeah, you just had to pull it back up.
Ugh.
But yeah, I mean that was. We now base everything. We now base every single sod job off of that one job. We're like, it's less than that, so we're good. It's
right.
easy.
So what did you learn from that experience? Because I know you had to go back. Even without me, there was a few days that you had to go back to either fix some stuff or put in some new sod because someone didn't water it. Was there a certain lesson that you pulled out of that, like learning how to bid more properly when it came to like yardage or anything?
Yeah, my price on the sod was good. My price on the grading was since it was such a large area, it took significantly longer than what I thought it was going to, and so that's one thing where I lost a good chunk of money on was just the lack. I shouldn't say I lost a lot of money on it. It wasn't
as profitable as it could have been.
I actually don't think that was profitable on that part.
Is that a wash?
I think it was just a wash. I was able to keep some of my costs so low, or just kind of move them into other stuff that it wasn't. I didn't lose too much on that one section, but that and then I also don't lay sod on any unirrigated areas anymore.
Fair.
Either.
That's very smart.
Yeah, you have to have irrigation. I mean, we're not going to say where this was, but or who it was for, just because there's no reason for it. But since they didn't water it and they had so much dye, that's really why we had to keep going back, is because it would dry out.
Yeah.
It would dry out, and then the wind would blow it and toss a couple rolls over.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be even anymore. And
exactly. And so it was. I'm not saying that I run a perfect company and we do perfect jobs, but it was the callbacks were through no fault of our own.
Right.
So, but we're really just kind of trying. At that point, I was trying to keep the peace. Everyone who's ever been in business has run into some sort of situation like
Absolutely.
this. It's kind of a lose-lose situation, and you're just trying to keep the peace and close the job out and do the best job that you can.
Just eat it.
Yeah, and eat it and get paid and just close the books on it, and then never think about it ever again. And if you do, you joke about it, and
right, no joke.
And you're like, man, I'm never gonna do that again.
So I mean, as nightmare jobs go, that was at least up there. In my experience when I've worked with you,
that was the worst job that we've ever done.
That tops it right there.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I was a part of it. Oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. No, that was one of the, if not the worst job in my career.
Interesting, and it took 15 years for you to get to that point.
Yeah.
That's not a bad record.
Yep.
15-0 before you got to a real bad one.
Exactly.
I'd take that every day. All right, as we come to a close here of episode 10, and thank you again for being on. I've kind of created an anchor question. I kind of like what I've been getting for answer-wise for this. Jonathan, you wake up in the morning, you're getting ready for the day. You go to open the door, head out into the garage. 18-year-old Jonathan is standing out there. You guys are able to lock eyes. You can't tell him all the secrets, but you can give him some advice. What do you tell that young man before he starts his journey more?
Do a lot better with billing.
Do a lot better with billing.
Yeah.
That's some good advice.
Yeah,
Why?
That would be that. No, it's always been my struggle with billing. One of the most important parts of the whole deal is
To get
getting
paid.
it's getting the money. So that's what I would tell him.
That's a good piece of advice. I like that. Make sure you're getting the job done. The part where you need to get the money, the billing part is very important.
Yep.
Get that done.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you for being on Networking with Nick, episode 10, having us out here at the property. This has been a great time. We're going to have a part 2 soon. We're going to have you come to my studio next time.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again.
Yeah, we can do it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Appreciate
you.
Yeah.